I'm looking over the Vegas Strip, and at the same exact time, getting an email from Delta that my flight was canceled back and that my unit's been called off because we're Southern Command. There's no part of me that doubted that I would get on the flight and come back to fight. You come here with no friends, no family, no language, and it is not a forgiving place, while at the same time, it is incredibly accepting and warm and inviting. We had 9 people from all over the world: Moldova, Canada, France, me, like learning Hebrew from a Ukrainian person who wasn't a teacher for Hebrew ever in her life until that day.
Was there ever any part of you that was like, why am I doing this? I could go back to my cushy, comfy New York life.
If anything, it only deepened my roots and strengthened kind of my resolve to live here. Don't worry about looking down.
Because you will look down. Wait till you have kids who make fun of you. That's right.
Ooh.
Welcome to another episode of Yalla, Let's Go, the podcast that Erica and I started to basically remind ourselves why we made Aliyah and choose to live in Israel. We are super excited because we're going to spend a number of episodes talking to people that work in tech, influencers, politicians, chefs, ask them all the questions about why they're here and why they stay. So before we get into it, I want to do a pulse check. Erica, how are you feeling about living in Israel right now?
That's a hard question today for me, because recently my 16-year-old son, he got his first call from the Army. He's now doing all of their like early assessments and tests. And I have so many feelings about it. I'm, on the one hand, really proud of him. It's like such a great honor, and he wants to serve his country and defend his country. And I'm so proud of him that I've raised this strong and, independent man. On the other hand, he's my baby, and I want to lock him in my basement. All I keep thinking about is when he was born, we were already living in Israel, and a neighbor came over, and she said to me this thing that at the time I thought was so weird. She said, I hope that by the time he's 18, Israel doesn't have mandatory army service anymore.
Yep.
And here we are, and I can't believe I'm in this moment.
Yeah, I feel like this is something we say generation after generation in this country, and I'm 2 years behind you, and I feel like it's a mix of pride and scared shitless. So I'm with you. It actually relates a little bit to the guests that we're welcoming today. I am so honored and excited to welcome Aaron Bours, native New Yorker, reservist in the IDF, and the CMO of a health tech startup called Hyro. Aaron is not only a national hero and treasure, but also a good friend. Spent 150 days doing rehab after being wounded in Gaza, and we're really excited to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So, Aaron, tell us your life story in a minute or less.
Whoa, okay. Moved here 15 years ago, grew up in Great Neck, Long Island, relatively privileged childhood. Came here to join the Army to do Givati for 2 years. That ended up being a 15-year stint now in Israel. Studied at IDC in marketing, worked at Checkpoint, Google, been in conversational AI for 10 years now. CMO of a health tech startup. We do AI agents for big US health systems. And most recently, fought in Gaza. We were the 2nd Battalion in, was greatly injured, shot in both my legs, and made a relatively miraculous recovery. And in order to be back where I am today, which is walking, running, jumping, and all that good stuff.
So you said that you made Aliyah and went straight into Givati. Why did you want to make Aliyah and serve in the Israeli army?
My parents actually met in Israel. My dad is Dutch. My mom is American. They are a love story bred in Tel Aviv. Shared an apartment together as roommates, became friends, and more than friends. And they got married, moved back to the U.S. when my mom's father died. My brother and I grew up feeling in this alternate reality we could have been Israeli. And we would come here as kids. So 6 times, I think, until the age of 18, climbing Mount Masada, hiking in the Negev, planting trees in Golan Heights. And all of this culminated in a very, very strong identity towards Israel and a willingness to try and figure out what that was. And one of the deepest roots this country has is, of course, its defense force. And that's where I found my passion and followed that path.
After serving, it's not always a straight line to figuring out what you're going to do professionally. And yet here you are today, kind of the highest levels of marketing at a massive company doing great things. Can you talk a little bit about how you built your career?
I deferred going to college in order to serve as a lone soldier. And then after successfully doing that, I decided I wanted to stay. And so I found a school where I could learn English and still develop a network that would help to serve me in a career should I choose to go in this direction in Israel. And so IDC Herzliya, now called Reichman University, finding future colleagues in tech. That really gave me the foundation in order to I guess start that career.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is network is important.
Yeah, you would know as the executive director of Nouveau, and networking is probably number one. I mean, most of the amazing friendships that I made at the beginning were people who don't work in tech, and they don't live in Tel Aviv. They're from all walks of life in Israel. I appreciated them tremendously, and but for sure, I think the network that I built at IDC Herzliya has served me today in finding jobs and getting connected to people I want to hire. Hopefully finding what future founder when I start my own company. So
You were called up on the 7th. And if I remember correctly, you were in Vegas in a conference. Can you talk us through a little bit about that experience and what happened subsequently?
I happened to be traveling. So I was going from Chicago to Vegas, got off the plane. I got married about a month and a half before. My wife's Israeli, but she's way more panicked about these situations, I think, than I am. And so she called me like 20 times, said, you have to see what's going on in Sderot. There's this white pickup truck with terrorists on the back, and just like rolling through the street. And I'm calming her down. At the same time, I understood that this is completely different than anything we really faced before. And I'm in Vegas. I mean, I got comped in a suite, and I'm looking over the Vegas Strip. And at the same exact time that I'm putting my bag down, I'm getting an email from Delta that my flight was canceled back. And that my unit's been called up because we're Southern Command. Certainly Givati, right? So we're part of the Southern Command. And all of this is happening at once. Now scrambling to try and figure out, okay, what am I going to do next? There's no part of me that doubted that I would get on the flight and come back to fight.
Can you talk us through kind of what happened once you got back and then ultimately what happened on November 14th?
Yeah. So going down south, a lot of pandemonium, a lot of grief-stricken soldiers, but the motivation was the highest I'd ever seen it. We started training. We didn't exactly know what was happening. There was the Biden visit, so we started trading with the assumption that it could be, at the drop of a hat, within hours' notice that they tell us we're going into Gaza. So relearning a lot of the urban warfare that kind of sits on the back burner. Every reservist, it's like these are above average individuals and extraordinary people asked to do extraordinary things, but at the end of the day, they're really just civilians trying to get by, and this is, their reserve duty is what it is in reserves. And you see all these people that are transforming, the teacher becoming a fighter again, and the restaurant owner, the guy with 4 kids. Everyone has to just focus on the job at hand. It was inspiring to see this happening. I'd never seen the army so collected together, unified, with clear missions in mind. We started to train together, bond together, get ready to go in with all of these units. And on October 30th, they called our number and we went in. We were one of the first battalions into the Gaza Strip. 15 days of intense fighting in Beit Hanun, so it's the north of the Strip. And we were going house by house, essentially looking for tunnel entrances. We thought that by putting pressure on Hamas from the north and the active soldiers putting pressure from the middle, we would try to kind of bring them up from their labyrinth of tunnels. And we were doing work that we'd never done before as a unit. I mean, it was super impactful, right? We found 6 tunnels in 15 days. We would get shot at constantly, but they never really did that much damage. It was just a cacophony of ammunition going off and mortar shells and whatnot. After 15 days, we walked in front of an UNRWA school, which we decided not to take down this type of infrastructure, schools, hospitals, places of worship, especially, to try to avoid. And as we were crossing, my officer was shot. And I was at the time in a place of relative safety. I was at the entrance to one of the houses we needed to take. I turned around to see where he was, and so I saw him getting shot and my friend as well. So both of them are now on the ground about 20 meters from where I was. I ran out to try to save my officer, who I thought lost a lot of blood. He'd fainted. And as I was trying to pull him out of there, I was shot in both my legs. So first by a sniper bullet in the right leg, and then by an AK-47 in the left leg, and crawled myself out to safety. The UNRWA school, it turns out there was a tunnel in the school, a weapons depot, 4 Hamas terrorists waiting for us, and a sniper behind the school. And even more in the 72 hours that would follow, they fought even more operatives around that area. So really a compound that's meant for education, just totally abused for ambushes, attacks on RAF soldiers.
And you had to have 4 surgeries. You were hospitalized for 150 days,
Yeah.
months of rehab. What was the hardest part for you of that recovery process?
Well, there's the physical and the mental. I did almost lose my life, and I think if it wasn't for modern protocols where they give you blood in the field, and I had a paramedic who deserves, in my opinion, the Medal of Honor. He saved 9 people in total in this time in Gaza. His name is Andre Basco. Um, I I basically was a millimeter away from losing my life, and I had to learn again how to walk after multiple surgeries. It was kind of being in this loop. And the hardest part through all of this was actually breaking the rehabilitative seal of this journey, and going back to work, going back to routine. Once you're in the rehabilitative state, it's like, okay, well, my entire day is around, and so you can put that together. You can build your schedule. You have all these blocks that come together to create this really amazing cushion of rehab for your mental and physical state. And going back to routine, going back to the real world, going back to work and having actual like one-on-one meetings. It's like these are things that are truly difficult to return to. So I was 15 months essentially out of working full time, and I'd say that is the most difficult part. And now today you have so many injured soldiers that have not returned to work. I don't know a single injured soldier that was with me in Sheba Medical Center while I was recovering, who has actually gone back successfully to work. There are some that tried, then failed. There are some that are now doing it in a staircase method, but they still can't turn on the switch. Um, it's a really difficult process. I think there's so much emphasis put on physical recovery. You have Achim L'Chaim and Belev Achad. You have all these organizations that are helping the soldiers to recover physically, but what you don't have is this career accelerator or this professional path creator that exists for injured soldiers. And I think that's where I would say there's a huge gap in the amount of care that these soldiers receive.
So what do you think was different for you that enabled you to kind of like be able to make that jump back into professional life after that kind of injury and rehabilitation?
Nouveau network is the answer I would give.
I was gonna say towel.
That's such a good answer.
Yeah, the Nouveau network. And no, I really it wasn't like I wouldn't say it was different in the sense that it wasn't really difficult. I think that I had a lot of luck in being the first employee in the startup, which I find myself today. So Hyro, when I joined, we had $300,000 in funding. I was the first hire essentially for the company. And so I built this company essentially with the founders for about 7 years now. And I think having that foundation to lean on and just being in a really strong state before I went, out with injury for 15 months is a key factor in being able to come back a little bit more slowly. But that luxury doesn't exist most of the time. It's a very unique story.
Yeah.
And most also executives that I know in tech, and this isn't to shame anybody, most of them don't find themselves in combat either. I don't know that many executives that were fighting in combat, throughout this war. And that's not to say that there aren't. There are, for sure. And I believe there's a CEO who also lost his life fighting. But it is very rare. And so in its rarity also, being in those situations, also the luck that comes with that and going back to work and having a little bit of that cushion. And I do have a strong support system, an amazing support system. I made a joke about Nouveau, but actually the network was extremely important. There was, coaches that helped me through this. There are just very good marketers that I got to through multiple communities that gave me these game plans of how to get back on the horse. And also my wife, Tal, was this incredibly supportive friend. So I have a lot of people to thank and a lot of gratitude.
I think there's something special about the kind of ecosystem, the professional ecosystem being kind of small and tight, where you can rely on it and people do understand things. So I'm grateful that was helpful for you. I think we would be remiss before closing this part of the chapter to not talk about Omri. I think you are kind of endless in your effort to commemorate him. This officer who you went to save because you thought he had fainted actually had already been killed. So if you can just speak about him for a moment, it would be important.
For sure. So I served with Omri for about 3.5 years in the reserves, and before this war. Omri was our captain, so Samach Pei in the Hebrew. 27 years young, loved to play guitar, loved to travel, like most Israelis do, to Thailand and whatnot. Girlfriend at 7 years named Noam, and that he was planning to propose to. Tammy and Doron, his wonderful parents, who are left grieving, and siblings as well. So Omri is someone that I think at the beginning it was very clear to me that I was flying abroad and doing all of this advocacy in his honor, but I won't lie in saying that for me it was empowering and impactful as well in my own mental rehabilitation.
Sure.
And to own that story, to be able to share that story at will with larger audiences, it made me feel completely in control of that trauma. And I think that I would also point to as a big part of why I was able to, I think, move forward so effectively. But it is incredible, just the amount of people that have stood up and clapped and cried in Omri's name and in his honor. And it's something that I don't want to lose ever in my lifetime. Walked around the city recently with Michael Rappaport, and we put stickers up, of Omri all over Tel Aviv, and I think it's those small things, but it's something. And I think we all have to do collectively an amazing job of honoring the soldiers who gave their lives to try and oust Hamas and bring these hostages home.
With everything that you've been through these past couple of years, almost losing your life, was there ever any part of you that was like, why am I doing this? I could go back to Great Neck and just go back to my cushy, comfy New York life.
Yeah, well, I think people, a lot of friends, I guess, assumed that after this happened, I'd want a break or I'd want to move somewhere else. I'd want to take time to kind of relax or breathe a sigh of relief or something like that. But I think that if anything, it only deepened my roots and strengthened kind of my resolve to live here. But I mean, the support system has been unbelievable. The way that I was treated by Shiva Medical Center, by all of the visitors, the volunteers, Jews from all over the world, but mostly Jews right here at home. I spill blood for this country now. I did almost lose my life fighting for this country and the people in it. And so it's only given me, I think, more fuel to my wife's, of course, dismay, because she wants to live in New York. She has that, Israeli, I think, imaginative view of what New York is actually like, not like subways in the summer and frigid cold in the winter. She doesn't really understand
The dirty
New York
black
like I
snow.
do. Yeah, exactly. She doesn't understand that New York is not the 2 weeks that you spend on Fifth Avenue and like on the top of the Empire State Building. But I'm here. I've built a home here, and I tried, my best to give service to this country, and people have paid it forward in spades, and so I'm happy.
What is it about this place that you feel so drawn to, that you love? What do you love most about living here?
The warmth, and not from a temperature standpoint, because then maybe less of the
Really, coming from New York, that's such a draw.
of the inferno in summer. No, it's the warmth of the people, and it's ever since I came here. The first year was wrought with difficulty. You come here with no friends, no family, no language, and it is not a forgiving place, while at the same time it is incredibly accepting and warm and inviting. And so I had hard days, but then the evenings were filled with offers to come for Shabbat dinners and even to live as an adopted son, essentially, in some of these homes. I had 3 adopted families when I was a lone soldier. I mean, people treating me like their own kin. I mean, you just don't find that anywhere else in the world. And then when I was injured, it was the same type of feeling, but tenfold, of people wanting to give so much. I didn't even have the capacity to receive all of the love and support and charity and generosity of all of these amazing human beings in this country. So, uh, yeah, I think that combined is just a recipe for a beautiful life here.
What advice would you give now to someone considering Aliyah?
Learn Hebrew. I know it's such a boring one, but it's true. The faster you can have basic conversations in Hebrew, the faster you can develop true, deep-rooted friendships in this country. And the second is to join clubs, take classes, go put yourself in situations with Israelis, and don't worry about sounding dumb or looking dumb, which is probably the number one reason why people stay in this country for a decade and don't learn Hebrew and don't have Israeli friends. Don't worry about looking dumb.
Because you will look dumb.
You will look dumb for the first year and maybe the second year. And by the third year, you're the smartest person in the room for having taken the leap and done those things to set yourself up for future success by knowing the language and breaking through cultural barriers.
Even if you never get your race.
Even if you
right?
never get, I still have an accent.
Okay,
I have an accent.
Okay,
I mean,
that's
of course. Yeah. It's okay.
Wait till you have kids who make fun of you. That's right.
Ooh.
It's gonna happen. They were guess through. They're gonna correct you, and they're gonna laugh at you, and they're gonna laugh at you in front of their friends. It's fine.
With, this whole inspiring story that you've just told us, and it is really inspiring, I have to be real for a second and say living here is also really hard sometimes. What would you say is the hardest part for you about living in Israel?
Bureaucracy. I can handle the ridiculousness of Israel. The cultural nuances of people not opening the door open for you, or the cab drivers going smoke in your face. Like those are the little things. And to be honest, sometimes it's like it adds to the charm, right? But bureaucracy is heavy here. It's really heavy. And that's something where, again, learning Hebrew can really help you in the beginning. But the contracts you have to go through, the all the different agencies, especially as an injured soldier, the support system is incredible. But the actual operating system around injured soldiers, which is the Ministry of Defense, and to their credit, they're completely overwhelmed by what happened. And this is for sure. This is 6,000 wounded combat, and then 19,000 injured soldiers total, right? In terms of also PTSD. The numbers not like anything you've seen before. So completely understand that they've been overwhelmed. All of the different forms that I have to fill out for anything, we've added so many unnecessary steps and obstacles in these processes, especially as it relates to incoming, right? And when we talk about Aliyah immigrants, we have not smoothed that out in the last 15 years that I've been here. So that's just something to take note of, watch out for, and improve.
Okay, last question. When you're 70 years old and you're looking back on your life here, what's one thing that you think will have been true because you made Aliyah and moved to Israel that otherwise wouldn't have happened?
Well, I married an Israeli, so for the rest of my, life, until she decides that she's had enough, I guess, my entire family, is now Israeli by roots. And I think that that's something that I did when I was 18 years old. I didn't know that I would have Israeli kids. I didn't even think about that. I think Israel, and especially joining the Israeli Defense Forces, when we talk about defense, we talk about putting your life on the lines in the defense of other people, in the defense of Israeli civilians. And I think I got something here from that service that many people want but are fearful of going the distance to try to understand, to figure out. And it's a test of your own moral code. And I think that what happened with my story and what happened here in Israel is that I was tested a few times in October and then again in November of would I put my life on the line, and would I do these things that I thought about myself when I was even 18, 19, and came join the army, right? And that for me is something invaluable. So being able to know now that I did risk my life for someone else, and I did try to save another person, and I didn't cower in the face of flying bullets and Hamas terrorist scum. These are things that I think will empower me for the rest of my life. And I only think recently that I've started to actually lean on that as a source of motivation and power. And that's something where, I think joining the IDF has given me those principles and allowed me to trust those principles.
Okay, we're going to get into rapid fire very fast.
It's, by the way, it's very insensitive for you to say rapid fire to a person
Oh, I'm so sorry.
guy in Buffalo.
Oh my God.
These are going to be fast questions.
We're going to ask you some fast questions.
That's okay.
Oh, so like rapid fire?
Actually, they'll be regular questions, but you give only one-word answers.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, great.
Favorite Israeli snack?
It's
Favorite place in Israel?
kibbutz ein bof.
Favorite Hebrew word or slang?
Sababa.
What do you miss most from back home?
Oof. Delis.
What does Saturday or Shabbat look like for you?
I walk every single Saturday. I walk to Yafo and back. It's about 10,000 steps, and it sets me up for successful rehab for the rest of the week.
What's your only in Israel story in just one sentence?
Well, only in Israel, they overbooked the base where I was supposed to do my basic training. And so we actually just had a table at the Lishkat Gus at the base in Tel Shomer. And you had 9 people from all over the world, from all Moldova, Canada, France, me, like learning Hebrew from a Ukrainian person who wasn't a teacher for Hebrew ever in her life until that day. For 3 months, she was teaching us Hebrew, 9 people who spoke different languages, and she herself didn't speak English. And that's how we started our army service.
Amazing. Aaron, thank you so much for the time and for the honesty and the authenticity.
And sharing your story with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you also to our amazing team, Uri, Nadab, Sarah, Kira, Sophie, Dalit, for making this all happen. We couldn't do it without you.
Yalla, let's go.